Welcome to the Golf Rules Questions podcast. This is episode 103. We take a part 2 of Clubland Stories with the October edition. On this episode, we hear from Karin about Jenny taking penalty area relief. But did she have at least 95% known or virtual certainty that her ball was in the penalty area? We also hear from Webbo about one of his members moving tee markers. And Mr. Roberts corrects a Hilltop member that anger in a bunker is not always a penalty. Lastly, a scary one from Colin about low handicappers thinking that line of flight is a viable penalty area option. So whether you're in your car or going for a walk, enjoy this episode of the Golf Rules Questions podcast.
Stuart's one of our highest ranked working rules officials that we have, one of the best we've got, and he knows his stuff.
Hey everyone, welcome to episode 103 of the Golf Rules Questions podcast. You're here with Blakey and my co-host, Stuart McPhee.
Hello, Blakey.
Hello, Stuart. How are you?
I'm very well, thank you.
Now, let's get straight into it. The GRQ OTW 102, which I was listening to, and I actually saw that Ruin answered or tried to answer it for last week on YouTube. So I have a better, more up-to-date understanding. No, it's like, I think I'm on top of it this time.
Would you like me to read it out?
Yes, please.
GRQ OTW from episode 102. Blakey and Stuart are playing a match at Wombat Hills. It is Blakey's turn to putt on the first green, and he removes the flagstick from the hole, placing it on the green behind the hole. Blakey's putt is way too hard, and believing the ball will definitely hit the flagstick, Stuart rushes over and picks up the flagstick. Blakey's ball continues to roll past where the flagstick was on the green. Blakey's not happy, and he requests a ruling. Are there any penalty strokes, and what happens next?
So he's moved the flagstick out of the hole, which is fine, and then while the ball is in motion, the flagstick has been moved by someone else, which the ball could have actually hit the flagstick and stopped, or not gone as far away from the hole if the flagstick had been left there. So is there a penalty? And the answer is no, there's no penalty. You are allowed to move a flagstick whilst the ball was in motion. That's probably the easiest way to say it. So that's rule 11.3, is that right?
Correct, yep.
And podcast is going to read that out now.
I was just going to say, so 11.3 covers deliberate actions to affect a ball in motion, and we know there's lots of things you cannot move out of the way when a ball is in motion. You just can't. Excuse me. And one of the criterions to satisfy this rule to incur the breach is not, of course, whether the ball is going to hit where that item was on the ground. It's the deliberate action to remove it, because you can actually never actually prove whether it was going to hit it or not. So let's say a flagstick was something you weren't allowed to take out of the way, and we did move out of the way and the ball moved past. How would you then go about proving, I may have actually just missed that flagstick, it may have just, or whatever. So anyway, there's no test to see whether it actually would have hit it or not. The only criterion you need to satisfy, and I've said that in a very long way, is the fact that the action was deliberate. The action was deliberate. If it was deliberate and that's proved, then you incur the penalty. But as you said, Blakey, the flagstick is actually one item which you can actually move and freely move about. A removed flagstick. Sorry, a flagstick that is already out of the hole. Right? If it's already been removed, you can actually move it quite freely, whether the ball was going to hit it or not, as you said.
Oh, that's actually quite an interesting sort of, you did go around about in
way too long
way. So if a ball is going towards a stick and you move the stick out of the way, is that allowed?
No, that's deliberate. If that was a deliberate action.
So you move it out of the way, the ball goes past it,
right,
and the ball ends up in a space.
Yeah.
What is the ruling?
So if the action was deliberate, that's all you need to satisfy.
Okay.
So you incur the general penalty. So there's no, sorry if I may, the players wouldn't gather or call in a referee and the referee wouldn't say, "Oh, can you put the stick back where it was, please?" And just sort of show me show me where the ball went, and we'll just sort of work out whether it would have hit the stick or not. You don't have to satisfy that to incur the general penalty under 11.3.
Right.
There's only one criterion: was it deliberate?
So that's for the stick.
Yeah.
And some other movable obstructions. But if it's any player's equipment, the flag stick, or a ball,
including a ball, ball at rest, the ball marker, you can't move a ball marker out of the way. There's a ball in motion, but you can definitely move a ball.
But if it is your ball, and we heard that in a Clubland story last week, you'd have to put a marker beside it first before you moved it out of the way.
Interesting. The flag stick is another one of those unique things that, if you're playing from the green, like you were in this situation, you're playing from the green, your ball hits something, do you either play the ball as it lies or do you replay the stroke? In a lot of cases, you do, in fact, replay the stroke.
Yeah.
If you hit a hat, if you hit a water bottle, if it hits something like that, but the flag stick is not one of those.
No.
If it hits the flag stick, it's, as long as you didn't deliberately put it there.
Any person holding that flag stick.
Right. So the flag stick is a bit unique in that sense. I mean, it has its own little sub-rule, 13.2, which covers the flag stick, attending the flag stick, removing it, and all those sort of things. But you're right. In this particular case, no penalty to Stuart. Blakey can be furious, but you can actually remove flag stick anytime.
Instead of being furious, Blakey should just learn how to play better.
We all hit putts way too hard and leave them halfway. That happens.
Head it off the green. So let's get into, we've got another series of Clubland stories because we had to catch up on them after about 2 months. So these are Clubland stories October. Yes, what do you want to say?
I'm going to hit you without notice here. One of the Clubland stories we spoke about last week, I just wanted to throw another theory at you. So we're talking about the hypothetical about all the way down the right-hand side of a hole was half it was out of bounds, and then the second half was red penalty area.
Right.
And it's thick grass, and the players are trying to work out, did it go out of bounds or did it actually come to rest in the red penalty area? And of course, both the player and opponent disagreed on how you would resolve that. I just wanted to throw this at you. We were talking about, we've got to work out which is it more likely to be in. Is it more likely to be out of bounds? Or is it more likely to be in the red penalty area?
Yeah.
I've just, because, I re-listen to this, once a day. To help me fall asleep.
He likes listening to his own voice.
No, definitely not. I thought about it a bit more when I heard that particular story, thinking there's only one of those areas of the course, if you call that a bounce area of the course, there's only one of those areas that requires significant proof, and that's the red penalty area.
Right.
So for a ball to be known, to come to rest in a red penalty area, we need that 95%. Knowledge or virtual certainty. That is a very, very high standard. That means 19 out of 20 times it's in there. It's a very high standard. For a ball to have come out of bounds, we don't need that same level of proof.
Right.
So really, we shouldn't have, when I think about it, and I'm just throwing this at you as a theory, that rather than us working out which was more likely, because if we said, it was 51% likely to be out of bounds and only 49% red penalty area, but we actually need a significantly higher level of proof of 95% to say it's in the red penalty area. In other words, there's more burden required to prove that than there is for it to be anywhere else. I was just thinking about that. As I said, just listening back to us.
I see where you're going with that. I guess the fact is that because of those options B and C, because if you don't need any percentage of proof if you want to take stroke of distance.
No, never do that anytime.
So
correct.
And that's the whole idea of it. You don't need this a massive amount of proof that's gone out of bounds because your only option is stroke and distance.
Only one option.
So if penalty area, your only option was stroke and distance, then
in this particular case,
you have to go back and...
I agree, but the player wanted to exercise 17.1D3 and that was take lateral relief and drop 2 club lengths from the entry point, which of course they estimated. For that option, you need to have knowledge or virtual certainty.
Yeah.
So that's why I'm saying there's more level of proof required for that area of the course than for it to be anywhere else. So that was really where I think the focus should be. Can they be satisfied 19 times out of 20 that ball is definitely in there? If not, you don't have to prove the others that it's out of bounds or lost. You don't have to prove that almost. You have to prove the other one.
I guess it still comes down to if it's 200 meters to carry and you normally hit 240 even with a dirty cut, then 19 out of 20, you probably get there.
Yeah.
The other thing too is, like, and I know that Keysborough in Melbourne, they have one on their 16th hole that is exactly like this. And so if you cross back over the out of bounds into the red penalty area, then you'd also need to have that local rule.
No point of entry.
You'd also need to have that local rule in place where you can, which they used to have as a rule of golf, and they took it out, and now it has to be a local rule if they want to allow equidistant arc on that penalty area. Which would actually be quite hard to find.
Because what you're saying is that the ball travels out of bounds and then enters the penalty area on an edge, bordering out of bounds. There's no point of entry on the course. There's no reference point.
Yeah.
So you need to use that equidistant, what do they call it?
There's a reference point, not general area or bunker to penalty area. It's out of bounds to penalty area.
Yeah.
So, and if it's a square like this and your green's over here, then your equidistant would have to be back here, alongside the out of bounds, which I'm not even sure is an option. Even if the local rule, would have to look that one up. There's another one for looking up, and I think they're finished with that one, aren't we?
Yeah.
Well, speaking of our GRQ OTW 101 and how we gave you the answer last week, but then we brought up what happens if they drop it, and then without the KVC, the known or virtual certainty of at least 95%. And then the ball was found in the penalty area, so that actual relief area was correct. Well, we've worked it out now. They've actually had the USGA have given us some feedback about that, and they've actually, when they took the drop, they didn't have that KVC, so that was a wrong procedure. So it doesn't even matter what you find out afterwards. They have to pick that ball up regardless and proceed under one of their options.
And I like the wording from the USGA. It said only the information you know at the time of dropping is relevant.
Yeah.
And it's almost like, if you think about that situation, it's almost as if the penalty area wasn't even there.
Yeah.
Because it had no relevance on what you're doing.
Yeah.
It could have just been a general area.
Yeah.
Anyway, good to know. So yeah, you must correct that.
Yeah. Thank you to the USGA for getting back to us so quickly. Right. So into Clubland Stories. We've got one here from Karin. Jenny played her tee shot and it headed towards the penalty area. When she got to where she believed it would be and couldn't see it, she took penalty relief 2 club lengths from where she thought the ball last crossed the edge of the penalty area. She then walked towards the green and found her original ball 10 metres ahead on the edge of the fairway. How was she to proceed? Jenny wanted to cancel the stroke and distance penalty and continue with the original ball. Her playing partner said that as she had played another ball, that was the ball in play. Jenny picked up her original ball and continued to play with her second ball. That happened at Kings Cove or Meetung Country Club. They had a name change about 2 months ago. So yeah, I think Karen's got that one. She's given me the question and also given me the answer, basically. But this goes to our question from 101. As long as Jenny had at least 95% virtual certainty that her ball's in the penalty area, then her drop was correct. And once she's dropped, her original ball is abandoned, if that's the right word for it. And so it's not even the shot. Once you drop, the shot is only when you tee it up in the teeing area. But in the general area or bunker or whatever, it's when you drop. So the drop ball was the ball in play. The original was out of play, and Jenny, even though you wanted to continue with the original ball, as long as you had 95% virtual certainty, you've proceeded correctly and you picked that original ball up. And again, just like 101, this 101 was very, very topical.
Yeah.
Just like 101, if you didn't have at least 95% KVC, then the original ball is still the ball in play, and the drop was the incorrect procedure. The fact that you've dropped and played, you've actually played from a wrong place under 18.1 stroke
Because
distance.
it's your only option.
So then you, by dropping and playing from a wrong place, which was it would most likely be a serious breach. Now we're into a lot of strokes. Original ball off the tee, dropping to, playing from a wrong place to, we're up to 4. Then you'd have to go back and correct your mistake by playing from the tee shot as well.
So if a player's ball has not been found and it is known or virtually certain that the ball has come to rest in a penalty area, the player may take penalty relief under Rule 17.1D or 17.2. Once the player puts another ball in play to take relief in this way, the original ball is no longer in play and must not be played. This is true even if it is then found on the course before the end of the 3-minute search time. If it is not known or virtually certain that the ball came to rest in a penalty area and the ball is lost, the player must take stroke and distance.
Oh, Rule 18.2. So. Now, that was under 17.1C, podcast was reading there. Now, I did actually have another situation, emailed it through to me from Sue, and basically it was very similar to this, but not using not into a penalty area. It went into rough, I think it was a garden area, not deemed a a GUR area, just a garden, rough, grass type stuff area. And the person's hit a provisional ball, which they're allowed to do. They don't have to. They've hit a provisional ball, announced it onto the green, really nice and close, walked straight over to that ball, want to use that ball. Someone has gone and looked for their ball, the original, and found the original ball. The player really wants to use the one that's on the green, of course. It's closer now. But no, the original has been found. She needs to come over and identify that it is hers if a ball has been found in the area that the original could be. And then so she does. Anyway, they have a bit of a debate amongst the group.
I'll add the debate also continued because the ball was pretty unplayable.
Right.
So the players with the original ball was going, well, I'm not going to play from there. I'll probably take an unplayable. Maybe I can use the provisional as the stroke and distance.
Yeah.
Unplayable option.
Now, the provisional ball is not an option under stroke and distance. It's an option if you think your ball might be lost outside a penalty area or it might be out of bounds, but it's not an option under 19.2. Okay, so you don't get to use your provisional ball as an option under 19.2. Now, added to that, it was in an unplayable area and the person that found it thought they saw a snake as well. In the end, the player came back and did take an unplayable for the original ball. So that's 2 shots and then ended up with a 5. I went back to them and said, look, if the animal was still there and the player thought that there was a dangerous animal condition, they could have taken some kind of free relief, but the free relief only gets them so far away. And I think I added that it's only a dangerous animal condition if the animal stays there and it's a dangerous animal. Okay, not all animals are dangerous, and if the animal leaves the area, then there's no more danger. So it's not a dangerous animal condition anymore. So that was a similar one that I got on email from Sue. So that was hopefully we've helped them out with that. Now, Henry and I created a video a while ago about when you must abandon the provisional ball. So if you haven't seen that, go and take a look at it. But I get these queries a lot, so I'd send them around as well.
And it's just so straightforward though, isn't it? Like as soon as that original is found and identified, the provisional ball has like 0 status.
Yeah.
I mean, we know it's a wrong ball and everything, but 0 has no relevance on the rest of that hole. Sorry, for the rest of that play, that hole just has no status whatsoever. There is with the, sorry, you go.
Well, and interesting enough, as soon as the original ball was lost, so after the 3-minute search, it has no further bearing on the
Right.
whole edge.
Or if another ball's been put into play, like
Yeah.
the penalty area, and then found later, even within the 3 minutes,
Yeah.
doesn't matter. It's now a wrong ball. So under 16.2, the dangerous animal condition, the stroke must be reasonable. You know, we Jeff and I were talking a lot about this last night, that almost every single free relief situation has this caveat.
Yeah, it has to be a
reasonable stroke.
Yeah.
So in this case, when maybe the ball was clearly unplayable, you may not get that free relief under the dangerous animal condition.
Yeah.
If that stroke is unreasonable.
And unreasonable, it's an interesting one, because unreasonable for me might be different to unreasonable for you, because your handicap's a little bit higher.
Generous.
And I probably go to the gym a little bit more than you. So what I could possibly hit and what you could possibly hit could be two different situations. And looking at us, from people that watch this, they might think, oh, there's not too much difference in age or ability or stature, which is probably true. So maybe our mums who play golf, what they can do and what we can do would be totally different. What would be unreasonable for her or them might be reasonable for us to try and have a shot.
You and I have had this conversation before about, like, if you have a referee who plays off 25 at his club and he's refereeing a player who would play off +7 at his club, do they have the same look? It's summing up a situation whether something's reasonable or not.
A lot of the time, that's why referees, they usually get people that are been professionals in a past life as to what shots that they would hit. And funnily enough, a ruling that was in the Ryder Cup, not the one just gone, but the before, with Brooks Koepka and was playing alongside Daniel Berger. The second opinion, I don't know about the first, the referee who gave the opinion, the first referee, but the second opinion referee, he used to be on the European tour, so he was a professional and knew how to play and knows the game very well.
And still denied relief.
And then, seeing the situation, and you see all the comments, oh, he hit it, he definitely hit it. But the fact that, it's a reasonable, whether it's a reasonable shot and whether the person's actually going to hit the thing if they go and play that shot is also slightly different. Do you know what I'm saying? Like, the referee could deny relief because they don't think it's reasonable. And then if the person goes and plays that shot anyway and hits has interference and makes a reason, that doesn't necessarily mean that the referee was wrong.
No.
Maybe they'll look at it and go, oh, maybe I could have given relief there, but it doesn't necessarily mean that they were wrong, because in their mind they were thinking this is not a reasonable shot, and you're only just trying to get say that you have interference to get free relief. Very good. Webbo. Oh, nice. Webbo again. And this was only sent in the end of September, but you're now in the late October Clubland Stories. Webbo, one member came in and said that he had checked and understood that he could do the following because he could find anything in the rules that said he couldn't, because he could not find anything in the rules that said he could not. I'll set the scene. At Beverley and East Riding Golf, where Webbo is the secretary, our tee markers are 8 inches high maximum. Made from concrete, poured into a plastic mold in the shape of an upturned cup, for want of a better description. We have 3 sets of tees, white, yellow, and red, white being the back, yellow the middle, and red the front. Often all 3 tees are on the same teeing area, separated by a few yards. Sometimes the red tees are on a separate tee up to 50 yards in front of the others. You get the picture. Yep. Because this member hits a low ball, ridiculously low in my opinion, he is often afraid that he may hit the tee marker in front of the tee he is playing from. He also does not like to see the other tee markers in front of him, as it affects his mental game as well. He states that he can move. He'd be easy to play a match play. He states that he can move the tees in front of him, including those in his eye line, as they are movable obstructions. They are not part of the course he is playing, and therefore does not even have to put them back, even though they are tees for other courses. He does put them back, though I hasten to add. Good. Please can we have expert thoughts of Blakey in podcast? See? Your nickname's podcast. I have checked and unfortunately think he is right. There are no local rules in play about this. The tee blocks fit the definition of a movable obstruction as they're not the course he is playing. The line of play definition fits, and after consultation with other referees, one being a level 3 TARS, I think he is right. And over to you, mighty gurus, to assist me. I'd say he is right. Your first thoughts, short answer?
Definitely correct. You can move it.
Because the tee markers are movable obstructions, they're not part of the course that he is playing. We know that tee markers on other holes, even if they are the course that you are playing, so say the whites in this instant, are movable obstructions because it's not part of the hole you're playing. So I would say that he is correct. As long as he puts them back, I don't have a problem with this. I don't see an issue. I think you'd have a strong warning to them if you do not put them back. We have an issue because that's going to stuff up the rest of the field or the rest of the people playing off that other tee, because they could get a penalty. So I think it's a strong warning that if you don't put them back, if we find any are out of position because of you, there is maybe a code of conduct, maybe a 2-shot penalty, but usually you find these things after the fact. So it might be a case of a suspension of your next game or something along those lines.
So I reckon this is covered in 2 spots. So movable obstructions covered under 15.2. We know that tee markers are movable obstructions. Without penalty, a player may remove a movable obstruction anywhere on or off the course and may do so in any way, except there's 2 exceptions. I'll go to the second one first. You cannot, obviously, we just spoke about this, deliberately remove a movable obstruction that affect a ball in motion. But the first one is tee markers must not be moved when ball be played from the teeing area. But as Blakey has just said, they are the very tee markers of the teeing area that you're playing, not other tee markers. This is also mentioned in 8.1a about improving the conditions affecting the stroke, except in limited ways allowed in rules 8.1b, c and d. A player must not take any of these actions if they improve the conditions affecting the stroke. Move, bend or break tee markers for the teeing area when playing a ball from that teeing area. So I don't think there's any issues ever with any other tee marker for any other teeing area on that course, whether it's being used or not. As long as it's not the one you're about to be playing from.
Yeah, I can't see an issue here. The only issue I can see is if he just affects other people's play
and doesn't put them back.
So that's like a code of conduct thing. So yeah, sorry, Webbo, if you wanted us to tell him that he can't do it, but I think you already had come up with the answer, and well, it was a month ago you submitted this, so I'm sure you have too. But yeah. A strong warning and a code of conduct breach if it does happen. That to be a shocking result or a silly situation for others in the course.
You know, it's almost a similar reason why some committees adopt a local rule deeming penalty area stakes as immovable.
Yeah,
because they don't want members moving them out of the way and not putting them back.
Yeah,
which is this point. Yeah, move it out if it's going to bother you, but please put it back.
That one there that you bring up. I see it all the time. You know, people just go in and make a comment online, whatever platform it's on, and just say, "Oh, yeah, those stakes are movable. You can just move them out of the way." And it's like, okay, but technically they are, but a lot of courses in Australia, they deem them immovable because of that reason, because people move them out of the way and then they don't put them back. My preference is they are movable so that we don't penalise the player if they do go and move them.
And he was in a penalty area.
and then we just hope that you're good enough to put them back. But that's so not going to happen because people don't repair divots and don't repair pitch marks. So asking them to go and make sure to put a stake back is not going to happen. So I would then tend to lean, and this is the referee and the resource. We have a lot of resources when we're refereeing is, go and put lines around your penalty areas, but that's a resource heavy and you need someone to go and do that. You need someone to repaint the paint and that kind of thing. So there is no easy answer to this. Get rid of penalty areas, actually. That's the easy answer. But it is a good one. I mean, you see it all the time. Oh, you can just move those stakes. And then someone else says, no, you can't move those stakes. It's a penalty. Well, actually, that's a local rule, but it is a common local rule. Right, next Clubland story from Mr. Roberts. He doesn't like me calling him anything other than Mr. Roberts. Firstly, may I say a big congratulations to GolfRules podcast for the big 100. Thank you. When did he submit this one? The 10th, the 4th of October. Thank you, Mr. Roberts. It was great to listen to Roscoe with early day memories, and the contributions of Blakey and Stuart podcast McPhee are fantastic for people like me trying to come to grips with the rules. As I've mentioned, Blakey, the podcast can be the highlight of my week. Can be. So it depends. It won't be if I give him a bad rating. As I listen at home or while I am working on the golf course. A big thanks for all you do for GolfRules, which is such an important part of our great game. I will admit that I have problems following some of the stories and issues. However, I know that some things that happen at golf are real, as they are beyond imagination to make up. I have used/played some parts of your podcast to win discussions about rules. May I also add that a couple of weeks ago, I used a direct quote from a podcast when a player picked up his ball, supposedly to identify it without marking it. I pinged him 1 penalty stroke. Then another player told me it was just a minor thing, not worth worrying about. So I said, just tell me what other rules we should ignore as I walked away.
Thank you, Mr. Roberts.
That's brilliant. I look forward to the next 100 episodes.
Oh.
Now, who's done those? Now for a story / question. Steve and Ray playing at Hilltop a few weeks ago. Ray in a bunker and failed to hit his ball out and slabbed his club into the base of the bunker several times. Steve gave him a general penalty, claiming that belting the sand improved the conditions where the ball rolled to. What actions were taken to resolve the situation? It was resolved on the spot. Steve insisted Ray add 2 shots to a score. Don't argue. Steve talked to me a few days later about it. I said I would submit it to Clubland Stories, but I thought under Rule 12.2b2, which Stuart's going to do right now, it should not have been a penalty. Steve smiled and said it did him good and taught him a lesson about behaviour. So Steve, who gave the penalty to Ray, has asked Mr. Roberts, and Mr. Roberts said he probably shouldn't have penalised him, and Steve's gone, yeah, well, it did him good and taught him a lesson about behaviour. Podcast, do you want to answer this one?
So we're talking about restrictions on touching the sand in a bunker, and there's certainly, I'm not even going to read for the rules here. I always say there's 3 things you can't do, and one of them is certainly deliberately test the sand and the depth. You can't test it as you're about to, can't touch the sand as you're about to make your stroke, and obviously in a backswing. But however, there are times when you can touch the sand. Would it be fair to say you have a lot more freedom in the bunker now than you used to?
Oh, absolutely.
Okay, that's the understatement of the podcast.
Yeah.
So removing loose impediments and
you couldn't do that.
No, all that sort of stuff. So
you couldn't strike anywhere. You couldn't touch anywhere in the sand with your club.
Right.
While your ball was in that bunker, unless you were measuring that type of thing.
So we know now that even if you take a couple of wedges into the bunker and you pick one, you know you can.
Oh, you could do that. You could do that. You could lay one down.
Yeah, lay one down.
You weren't allowed. You weren't allowed to lay or lean onto your club.
Right. So now you can do it.
Yeah.
You can be waiting and just lean, as long as you're not testing the depth.
You weren't allowed to get angry and hit the sand.
Right. And of course, that's now specifically mentioned.
Spot on.
As one of the options as one of the things you can do is striking the sand in frustration or anger.
Yeah.
There's no penalty for doing that, as long as you're not improving one of the cases, as long as you're not testing the sand depth, as long as that action is not, oh, good, I thought it was a bit thicker or something, you know. So yeah, so frustration, the rules even now mention that.
And that comes back to integrity of the player as to what they're actually doing. Are they testing or are they just striking the sand in frustration?
So as long as you, as I said, as long as it's not in your practice swing, sorry, it's another one, practice swing, making the backswing, you're testing, deliberately touching, testing, to test the condition of the sand to learn more information for your next stroke. As long as you're not doing any of that, these are the things you can do, digging in with your feet to take a stance for a practice or the stroke.
That one there, I just want to stop you on that one, because you just said, as long as you're not testing, but then you said digging in with the feet. So go back to the testing one, and it actually states,
before making a stroke at a ball in a bunker, a player must not deliberately touch sand in the bunker with a hand, club, rake, or other object to test the condition of the sand to learn information for the next stroke.
But digging in with your feet is okay. So you can actually test the bunker when you dig in with your feet.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, it would be very hard for the rules to say that you weren't allowed to test the sand, but you are allowed to still dig in with your feet.
And we see this all the time.
So I have no issues with that. I mean, you can't dig in so far that you
hit the base and go, right, it's 2 inches.
Yeah, well, hit the base and go, that's an immovable obstruction, I'm going to get free relief, because as we know, well, this is a sort of more of a tour hard card thing. If the immovable obstruction in the bunker is in its intended position, then you're not going to get free relief from that. But it's just interesting. They say a club, rake, hand,
object,
and other object, but digging in with your feet to take your stance.
Well, I guess your shoes are equipment, aren't they? They're not.
Wow,
they're not an object like something else. A ball retriever would be an object. Well, that's your equipment as well.
Well, now we're going down the rabbit hole.
We are, which we're about to jump back in.
Because if you mark your ball,
yep,
with a small object,
yes,
you can mark it with your foot as long as your shoe or sock is on.
Yeah.
So that's another object.
I actually mentioned that to someone last week who didn't like that.
If you mark it just with your bare foot, that's not allowed.
No.
But if you mark it and you got your sock or your shoe on, that's allowed. So a small object could be your shoe or sock. So another object could be but it does say feet there.
I said the last time we were talking about ball marking last week, and the guy said, I just know you can't use any of yourself, any of your own body. Like you said, he said, you can't put your finger down on the green like that. I said, yeah, but if it had a glove on, you could.
You know, one of those.
And he didn't like that.
You know, one of those things you turn pages with?
Yes.
Thumb
thimble? Yeah, those things.
Yeah, if you had one of those on there.
That'd be fine. That's an object. Anyway, getting back to when you can touch the sand, but it doesn't result in a penalty, digging in with the feet to take the stance for a practice swing or the stroke, smoothing the bunker to care for the course, placing clubs, equipment, or other objects in the bunker, whether by throwing or setting them down, measuring, marking, lifting, replacing, or taking other actions under a rule, leaning on a club to rest, stay balanced, or prevent a fall, or striking the sand in frustration or anger, which I don't. Yeah.
So, Steve, good on you for penalising Ray, but he didn't actually deserve the penalty.
And thank you to Mr. Roberts for his incredibly kind words.
Yes.
And his support.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Right. Last Clubland story from the form. Oh, Colin again. How many has 7? Colin has contributed 7 times to the Clubland stories. A lot goes down at Waimate Golf Course. And while I mention this, hopefully we'll get it out. All Blacks are playing our Sunday morning in the World Rugby final, World Cup final against South Africa. Hopefully I'm a happy man next week, and so will Colin be. Next thing you know, tell me that he's born in South Africa and he supports South Africa instead. Anyway, Colin, playing the par 5 6th hole at Waimate. We're going to know every hole at Waimate soon. Colin is playing with 2 locals and a visitor from Pleasant Point Golf Club. Our visitor tees off with a massive slice. He's a left-hander, okay? Ends up lost in the penalty area near the 9th hole fairway. Having searched and agreed the ball was in the penalty area, he decides to take back on the line relief, which would place him back into some bush. Now, Colin, having put the penalty stakes out as part of his duties at the club, couldn't believe his eyes after walking away to hit his own ball when our visitor drops his ball on the line that would have taken in flight into the penalty area. So he was lining himself up with the flag and taking a penalty drop along the line of the slice. He dropped the ball in the rough 20 or 30 meters away from where he correctly should have dropped it. Colin, not overly sure of the ruling, as he had seen another player in a tournament a few months earlier do exactly the same thing, but on a different hole. As our player was playing terrible and not in the best moods, we let it slide. Sorry, Blakey SG. What other rules did he let slide? He did the same thing on a different hole later on. I do have an idea of what the answer is, but how many penalty strokes has our friend incurred? Stableford round, and he's a single figure handicapper. Oh my God. Our visitor had a terrible day. Colin, the main thing you do here is when we give you the answer, you have to send the answer to this person, because there's no way. Line of flight is not an option under 17.1D. Our visitor had a terrible day, Stableford round. He didn't feature in any prize results, but bought myself and partner a beer because we won the haggle. I'm pretty sure I know the options: take a lateral relief, back in line relief, play from a previous stroke, players at lies. But this is not the first time I've seen the players do this. Is this something I'm not aware of? Colin, you are not incorrect. You are absolutely correct. This is not an option under 17.1D. You've got stroke and distance. If you know that it's gone, you've got your 95% virtual certainty it's in the penalty area. You've got back on the line relief, back on the line, not back on the line of flight. So that's from the hole through the last edge crossed in the penalty area, back on that straight line. As far as you want, as long as you're on the course. And then the last one,
excuse me, lateral from the point of entry.
So that same last edge crossed, 2 club lengths, no nearer the hole, and that's only for a red penalty area, which most penalty areas seem to be red these days. But yeah, line of flight is definitely not. My next community question is definitely going to be like I'll draw a picture, and it'll be the line of flight is the blue line, and the line back on the line relief is a red line. I go, which line can you take back on the line relief?
Nice.
And I'll see how many get that wrong.
So just on the back of the line as well, you can drop in any area of the course, including another penalty area, except the same penalty area.
Yes.
So when you drop, you've got to be out of that penalty area. You can actually drop into another penalty area if you so desire. It can be anywhere on the course, any part of the course, just not the same penalty area.
That brings me, I was trying to work this out once, and I sort of had it in my head. So if you take an unplayable, you can basically drop on any part of the course.
However, this is where my GRQA2W for this week is heading.
Oh, is it?
It is.
And I'm not going to spoil
There's
it.
2 parts of the course in the relief area.
What do you mean there's 2 parts of the course? Is that your GRQ?
So the ball is unplayable. It's right there, and within 2 club lengths lateral relief either side.
Right, I see.
It's lying in one part of the course. There's another area.
I won't ruin it.
Okay.
Because it could be 3.
It could be.
Right.
Yeah.
But when you take an unplayable, you can drop on any part of the course, including the putting green. There's a couple of situations. Can you think of a situation?
Unplayable, ball in a tree.
Ball in a tree, overhanging the green, you can actually drop on the green.
Yeah.
Okay. You can drop in any penalty area when taking an unplayable. You can't take an unplayable in a penalty area and drop in the penalty area. But you can take an unplayable from the general area and drop in a penalty area if you wish. You can drop in a bunker taking an unplayable. You can drop in another bunker. You get the point. You can drop anywhere an unplayable. When taking relief from a penalty area, you can drop in, as Stuart just said it, you can drop in any part of the course except the same penalty area. When taking relief, free relief you must stay in the same part of the course, same area of the course, except, when you do the no play zone, so you can, for the unplayable and drop in a no play zone, that doesn't mean you get to play from there, but you can drop in that area first and then take your relief after that. Getting back to the free relief, I've asked you that before. I've asked you this one.
Okay, you answer the question.
So the question is, when taking free relief, you have to stay in the same area of the course, except I can think of one situation.
Taking free relief.
Taking free relief. So if you take free relief from a bunker,
you got to stay.
You must stay in the bunker.
Sure, yeah. Is there something to do with the no play zone? Is there something to do with a dangerous animal condition?
No, they're all the same.
Got it.
Well, no, the dangerous area, dangerous animal condition could be. That could be part of it.
Okay. No.
We will cut this. So I've cut the 15 minutes that Stuart was thinking about it for, and now I'm going to give him the answer.
That's generous.
Green.
Oh, yes.
What?
Of course. If you have interference from, say, temporary water on your line of play, the nearest point of relief may actually be off the green.
Correct. And you
place it, don't drop.
Now, this is my question. So this is my further question to this. What happens if there is a snake on the green on your line of play?
Yeah. And it won't go?
And it won't leave. It's baking in the sun, enjoying it.
Yeah.
Now, let's say you're 20 foot from it. Would you consider that a dangerous animal condition?
That's a really good question. So it's clearly interfering with your line of play, clearly, but is it grounds? Because it's an animal, right? So what if you hit it? Will you replay the stroke? You just keep hitting it. Will that be enough to move it on its way?
That's interesting. Just because you go up to it and you
try to shoo it away,
and it doesn't want to move.
Right.
It's warming up. It's not a fast move.
In no mood to move.
For some reason, it just doesn't want to move.
Sure. So at what point does it become
it's not
dangerous to you?
It's not dangerous.
No, not yet. No. And you could walk around it to get to the hole.
So you have to play your shot.
Yeah, but I'm saying if you hit it, you have to replay it.
Yeah. But you don't get your dangerous animal condition relief to then place. And then if you're right on the edge of the green and your nearest point away from that line was off the green, you'd place it. But there's no relief option.
Not for because an animal in your way. No.
That's it. Not for an animal in your way.
No.
It has to be dangerous. You have to actually think that it's going to give you physical harm. Yes, a snake could give you physical harm, but not in the current situation that you're in. Once you're over the ball, do you think that snake's going to fire 20 foot?
No.
And come and try and
it's in no mood to move. It exists when a dangerous animal, such as, it gives examples, the first one is venomous snakes, near a ball could cause serious physical injury to the player if they had to play the ball as it lies. And that snake there is probably not. Now, if it's not going to move, then you probably get the pro shop / committee on the phone.
They changed that too. It used to be poisonous snakes. I made that. Always used to make that mistake. They're like, no, snakes can't be poisonous. They can only be venomous.
Okay. A player may take free relief and may take relief under Rule 16.2b from interference. Well, now we do have interference because it's interfering with one of our cats.
Only if it's a dangerous animal.
Yeah, a player may take relief under 16.2b from interference by a dangerous animal condition, no matter where the ball is on the course.
But it's not dangerous when it's 20 foot away and not moving.
So a player may take from interference by a dangerous animal condition. So it is a dangerous animal, but it's not a dangerous animal condition.
Correct.
Good one. So I'd be hitting it repeatedly with my putts, replaying the stroke every time.
Well, hopefully, but okay, here's another one. You hit the ball, it hits the snake.
Yeah.
That was a bit loud.
Yes.
It hits the snake.
Yeah.
and the snake doesn't move.
Okay, so you put another ball into play. I wouldn't go and grab that one.
Yeah, see,
so that
you know that one. So you can replay the shot. Well, you have to replay the shot.
have to replay. I'd put another
ball.
I'd put another ball into play because the other one couldn't be easily retrieved, easily recovered.
Okay.
I'd put another one into play, which means my ball is now not in play.
I was going to ask that.
Oh, you've got to give me some credit. So that ball's not in play, so it's not going to give you a 2-stroke penalty if you hit it. So you could end up hitting 5 balls towards a snake to try to move it. And none of them are going to count.
Now, if you hit the ball that's not in play,
right,
it's an abandoned ball.
Yes. So you've hit a movable obstruction.
Hit a movable obstruction. You have to replay.
So whether I hit the snake or the ball, it doesn't matter.
Yeah, right.
You can replay. And when I've hit it with the 10th time, and I've asked you for a couple of spare balls, right? Hopefully that snake gets the hint. But that,
then you find out.
Now we've got 3 groups.
Then you find out.
Yes.
Yeah, right. Now you've got 3 groups on. Then you find out. You go up. You go. You find out the snake's dead.
So I could have moved it after all.
So it was never a dangerous animal condition.
Geez.
It was never an animal.
Right. No.
Because it was a loose impediment.
Loose impediment. That's what I said. You could have moved it.
So if it was a loose impediment, you weren't allowed to replay the stroke.
It's funny that we can get back.
So if you're not allowed to replay the stroke, you've had
repeated stroke distances.
Yeah.
Yeah, repeatedly.
But you didn't know you were taking stroke and distance.
Oh, but you have. It's assumed you are. We've had this conversation separately, I think. You do. Well, you don't get lucky because you take a penalty stroke every time. And the stroke counts.
No, but it's a wrong place now, isn't it?
No, because you've taken stroke and distance because you put it back.
But you have to have the...
So it's assumed you're taking stroke and distance. This is like when you think you've cancelled a stroke, you put it back, you don't know that the stroke is not cancelled. It's stroke and distance, not wrong place.
Okay.
Because you're right, I was going to say about loose impediment. Loose impediment's a dead animal, right?
Yeah.
So that's a loose. This is where, Jeff and I were talking about this recently. Sometimes the rules can be relatively straightforward. It's the facts that are the hard bit.
Well, that's what he said to us yesterday. He said the rules are easy, but
getting the facts
are hard.
So, how close do we get to this snake to prod it, to try to move it, for someone to go, you know what? There's no pulse. It's dead. It's not an animal at all. It's now a loose impediment.
What do you think? Hold out your hand. I want to see if you're alive or not.
You check behind the neck, the neck. But, so...
Which part's the neck?
So getting the facts.
That reminds me, have you ever seen that movie, Waterboy?
Yes. I don't remember any of it, but
this is fantastic. What part of the... Did you say snake or it was something? What part of the snake? Well, I don't know about parts. If snakes have parts, but I would say that was the knee.
What's wrong with the web part? Hey, we should get back to answer Colin's. We should answer Colin's question.
I think we did.
No, because he asked how many penalty strokes, and we haven't answered that question. So you absolutely get 1 penalty stroke for taking relief from the penalty area, and he's done so in a wrong place.
So he's gone 1 off the tee. He's taken the stroke, the 17.1.
Yep, that's 2.
And he's done it. He's dropped it in the wrong place and played from there.
Right.
So
he's now on 5.
Now on 4.
Pardon me.
And he's hit it.
Yeah.
Well, you don't get that wrong place unless you've hit it. So now he's on 5. But Colin needs to work out whether it was or the committee needs to work out whether it was a serious breach.
Yeah.
So if he's taken line of flight and he gets to drop it here, or he's back on a line and he's got to go over, and he doesn't have to go over these trees because he's hit it. I mean, I would say it would sound like more of a serious breach than not.
I mean, he's definitely come away from the hole, but compared to where he should have been playing from.
I always think, is it more than a 2-shot penalty? Considering the distance, probably similar, but so you could have that argument, well, you could just chip it out here and then you could put it there, and that's about 2 shots. But, considering all that bush and, he could be on he's on the 9th hole and all that kind of thing, the committee would have to work out whether it was a serious breach.
And we do know a general penalty is a pretty significant penalty.
Yeah.
2-stroke penalty is pretty significant.
And it was stale.
At this level, I mean, he's going to wipe the hole anyway.
Well, that's it. Stale. But if it was stroke play,
and
he's a single figure handicap.
Two
Right.
shots a lot.
So we did get there in the end.
Mhm.
Right. GRQ OTW number 103. That is your, as you said, one job.
Only here for one reason. Now I've got to find it. GRQ OTW for episode 103. Big P is playing an individual stroke round at Wombat Hills. His tee shot on the 15th hole has come to rest in very thick grass near the top of a bunker. Big P decides to take unplayable ball relief using lateral relief. There is general area where his ball is lying and the bunker within his relief area. Prior to dropping, Big P replaces a divot in the relief area and then he drops where the ball hits the general area first, but then rolls into the bunker. I'll say that another way. Big P replaces a divot in the relief area and then he drops his ball where his ball hits the general area first, but then rolls into the bunker. Marcela advises Big P that he needs to drop again as it rolled into another part of the course, but also suggests that he has improved one of his cats. For his second drop, Big P drops into the bunker where the ball comes to rest in the relief area in the bunker. How must Big P proceed and are there any penalty strokes?
Interesting. Very good. That was episode 103 for the Golf Rules Questions podcast. Thank you very much for coming along again, Stu.
My pleasure.
And good luck with next week.
Thank you, you too.